Hey there, guys. Today we're going to talk about this. This is my bag that I take with me everywhere I go. Basically, on a daily basis, I go out and I paint from nature and then I come back. Most of the time, I go out with something I'm trying to find. That's something that adds or connects to a bigger painting or an idea that I have. Or maybe I'm just working on a theme and I'm trying to really figure out the best way to paint a certain kind of thing. So I go find it in nature and I inform myself. So this is what I take with me, right? It has absolutely everything I need to go out and paint. Okay, this is the first thing. This is honestly nothing very special. It's by a company called Handbook. Sorry, Handbook, if you're listening. It's 120 grams. I don't think it's particularly meant to be painted on, but I do. It takes the paint really, really well. Now, here's the thing. It does buckle a bit, but you know what? That's okay. That's all right. Don't freak out about it. It's good. The most important thing, as far as I'm concerned, is how does it handle the paint? And the answer is very, very well. So, probably the most important thing that I like is a decent weight and hot press. A hot press watercolor paper, or really a hot press anything paper, is very smooth, which means that I can actually add a lot of detail in there that I couldn't otherwise on a cold press, more watercolor feel kind of paper. So that's why I make that choice. Yeah, so I go out and I paint these and I come back and I make bigger paintings just with some of the details or some of the information that I've gathered. You can close it up and all that warping paper is gonna settle itself out. All right, so that's the first thing. To get some of those clean edges, I use this bad boy. Now, there's a trick with masking tape. Handy little trick. If you don't know it, you're gonna have your mind blown. If you do know it, then you should approve. Okay, if you just put this on your paper, it's gonna rip. So put it on your bag or your jeans or something. Put it down, smooth it out, put it down, take it up. It's gonna take a lot of those fibers from the fabric. Now you can put it down. It's not gonna stick so much. It's not gonna rip your paper. Mind blown. Okay, so that's easy. I don't always use it, but it creates really nice edges. Makes your work look more professional without actually having to do anything. All right, this, yes, you are correct. This is like a baby food containers. This is a reusable baby food container. It's amazing for a number of reasons. One, it is designed to go in bags and not spill baby food. So, it's got my water in it and it will not spill my water. No matter how you go about it, it just will not spill it. I can put it down, open it up this way, and it's gonna sit on its own. Use my paintbrush, dip my paintbrush in there, and it's gonna be good. Secondarily, I can close it back up and use the next thing we're gonna take out, which is the paints themselves. All right, so often when I pull my paints out, and we'll talk more about the paints in a second, they'll be dry. They'll be dry and I need to wet them. So I take this up and suddenly I can dose my water very carefully. Just put the couple of drops that I need in there and off we go. So amazing. The brand is Baby Brezza, but you know what? I think they're probably all the same. Okay, so let's talk about these paints. These paints are Nika Poster Paint. Again, I'm not sure the brand is all that important. And this isn't a poster paint that you get from Walmart. This is from Japan. It's kind of a cousin to gouache. It's an opaque watercolor. So, like we see in here, it is going to produce situations where I can paint something down, let it dry a little bit, and then paint on top of it and the layer underneath doesn't come through. And it'll act like watercolor, but you can add different layers and layers and layers and be building on top of, instead of watercolor where you're going to be seeing through it all. So it really has this ability for infinite detail. Not that you want to take advantage of that too much. If you add a lot of water, you will get a very watercolory kind of feel to it. Over here is where you can see the first paint, which is this dark paint, has been mildly dry. And then I put the second paint in, and it kind of pulls out these little fractal pieces as it starts to integrate. But it can't integrate that much because the paint underneath is kind of a bit dry by that point. Hey, you can see a fingerprint there. That's really cool. Anyway, super cool. So that's what these paints are about. They are fantastic. They take a bit of getting used to. Like any kind of water media, they dry a different value to how they go down, which was the biggest barrier to me. Terrible. But you get used to it and you can predict it, and when you get to that point, you can really actually use that to your advantage. So that's really, really cool. I got this from just a hobby store for $1, $2, and it allows me to have these paints in here, seal them up so they're not going to dry out all that much. And if I need to sit down, I can sit down where I am, and if I know I'm going to use 2 or 3 colors, just pop them off, use them, put them back, and put it right back in my bag, and I'm going, and I haven't wasted a single thing of paint. If you bring tubes of paint with you, you got to put them out, and then you can be careful about how much paint you use, and then end up not putting enough out, but you don't want to waste any. Anyway, this gets rid of that guessing game. Suddenly you can just come down, use your paints, pick them up, and then leave, which is amazing. The reason I decided to start doing a lot of this water media is because oil paints, I would end up not going out to paint because the oil paint process would be really tricky, and really a lot of things would get in the way, be very inconvenient. And I hate the fact that convenience comes into play, but it does. I needed to find something that was really convenient to help me get rid of every single barrier that comes between me and painting. And that's really important. And then I ended up falling in love. So there's that. Okay, this is the brush that I use the most. I have been told, I found it in a box. I've been told it's a calligraphy brush. So the best part about it, as far as I'm concerned, is that the tip comes to a very, very, very fine point. You can get to a lot of detail with just the tip, and then in the very next stroke, have a giant broad stroke that you put down. So it's very, very versatile, which is amazing. So that is basically everything that I use. Occasionally I'll have tissue paper in there, or a paper to dry my brush off. I have a bigger brush for if I'm making gradients or if I want to soften something out. When the paint gets a little drier, you actually can soften it out like you would perhaps feather an oil painting, which is not something that I expected would happen, but it does. But yeah, so you can get these really rich, vibrant pieces. So that's basically it. This is what I take with me. Being paints that dry relatively quickly, I can actually sit down, pull everything out, pop the caps off, open up, start painting. By the time that I finish painting, I put my painting down, I put all the caps on, get everything ready, put my water together again, and the paint is dry. I can close up the book, head on out, and get home, which is absolutely amazing. If you're an oil painter, that this process becomes very envious. Very envious. There's nothing in between me and painting, so I can go out and choose to paint for 45 minutes if I like. And at the end of 45 minutes, if I don't like my painting, the only thing I've wasted is a couple of cents of paint and a page in a book. It's a very cheap way to make mistakes, which is what we want. So this is what I take with me, absolutely everywhere I go. There you go. If you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, thanks for watching.